Morning, good afternoon, good day. Hello. We're going to talk about self-care some more today because really,
Some more.
you just can't talk about it too much, I think. My name is Rodney.
I'm Keith, and this is the Daily Chronicle. It's where we just put out there the journey to where we're going, and really to put it out there for our kids to look back on and see the journey to wherever we end up, and for us to look back on as well, and then build some community around it, and bring other people in.
That is correct.
Interesting on self-care too. Like, this has been the most interacted topic that we've had so far.
Yeah, people
And
like this, and I think it's a struggle, and I think that's part of what we want to talk about it.
yeah,
Your neighbor left a great comment on the video, I think on Instagram or on IGTV, and he said, think of the airplane when you're taking off. They tell you to put your mask on before someone else's in the case of emergency because you're no use to anybody else if you're unconscious. And I
that's
think
right.
that's the idea between self-care. And then he said, make sure to prioritize some time for yourself every day. And then I was talking to my wife about it, and she's like, man, but she's like, that's really hard for me. That's really hard for women, for mothers specifically. And I've seen that and I've noticed that. And I think it's hard for me too. Like, there's definitely a feeling of selfishness when it's like, oh, I want to get my half hour, 45 minutes, 60 minutes to work out, or I take 30 minutes a day to meditate, 15 in the morning, 15 at night. Um, but I also realize how much it recharges me, and how much it helps me come to all the things I got to do and keeps my eye from twitching from stress, and I sleep better the little bit of sleep I get. What do you think, Keith?
No, it's I think I've had I'm still here in Seattle in this video, and I've had a change of, well, I guess an expansion of my perspective on it, because I think the hardest thing about it for all of us is that sense of selfishness, that
Mhm.
sense of guilt. Like, especially if there's, it will say, imbalance in your relationship, right? Like, in your case, Rachel stays at home
Mhm.
and is with the kids, and you travel for work, right? Like, it's a thing. It's not, a bad thing, but at the same time, you get that time, whereas it's harder for her to get that time.
Right, some separation. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And for me, it's easier because my wife travels, right? And she's going to be gone for a week, so I'm going to be gone for 4 days. There's a bit of a balancing act, but at the same time, I was thinking about it as it relates to my trip home. Because I thought we were going to be doing some other things out here, I ended up booking a later flight, a 12:30 flight instead of leaving in the morning. And I tried to move it up because I felt obligated to. Like, I need to be home with my family, and I shouldn't be wasting time. And then it hit me. I'm like, my wife's gonna be gone for 7 days overseas, right, in 2 weeks. So it's not a bad thing if I just get a few extra hours to settle down, before I go home, and make sure that, hey, I am fully ready to just rock out being a dad for the next couple of
yeah,
weeks, right? So
yeah.
I
And
do think it's super important.
I agree. And I think the balance part that you mentioned, like what the dynamic is in your relationship and whatever your relationship is, like I think for me, having that conversation with her now, what I'm trying to figure out is like how can I encourage her to take some more time in the
Yeah,
day, or
yeah,
our gym has this like amazing daycare. I can take the baby, I can take the
yeah,
toddler. So like I just booked some time. So today when I go, I'm gonna go to the gym at noon and I'm gonna take Ruby. So Rach can get a little bit of time with just Reese. And I would take Reese, but Reese is sick, so we're not gonna take her to the daycare. But just like little things, like can I take her for 40 minutes in the day if I'm gonna work out to try and help?
yeah. It's
Um,
interesting because the self-care balance isn't just about your balance. right?
Fair.
It's about
Yeah.
your ecosystem's balance.
Exactly.
Is
Yeah, because
everything.
if she's out of balance, then the house is out of balance, and then
And then
I'm out of balance. Yeah.
and then your self-care is less self-care because you feel guilty about it, because it's
Exactly.
not balanced in the ecosystem. So
Exactly.
it really is one of those things. When we got asked before, like, how do you balance all these things, I think part of it is making sure that you're not just taking time for yourself for recharge, but you're giving the other components time for self to recharge that are part of whatever ecosystem you're in. And I think that just dawned on me during this conversation. That's pretty cool.
Good realization.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go wash some dishes and then do some work. But I want to ask you, any more questions about self-care? Like, we've been getting some good questions about this, and I think this is going to be, I think this and sleep. Like, it's interesting. The most interactive topics have to do with like sleep, managing time working, and then self-care is number one.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see as we're starting to get into the analytics of all this, like what's happening and where interactions happening. You kind of see where people are interested and where people are struggling, and it makes sense because like this is a hard one.
It does. I mean, family and self are two really hard ones. Yeah. So, all right. Well, more on this later, I'm sure.